What up, guys? Let's get going on this test 2 review. We're doing angle relationship word bank first. So basically, all of these words could possibly apply to the answers here, but you only need to name any correct relationship. So there's some questions where there's actually more than one correct answer. However, other ones do have just one right answer. So just a quick little note on any of these problems. There's two different types. The two different types here are going to be the ones that have what are called transversals. Those are the ones where a single line, actually it's this case, this one in this problem, that goes through at least two other ones. So like there's a transversal right here, there's a transversal right here. These two do not have transversals. So one thing you want to be aware of is that these answers over here, the ones from corresponding on down, these are for transversals only. They have to have a transversal for them to apply. All the other ones could apply for anything. They can be with transversals, without transversals. Every single type might apply to these ones. So we're going to talk about these in a second, but the word adjacent, this one just means next to, and it has to share a side. So I'm going to say slash share side. Running out of room, so I'm not going to do that one. So really, I'm just doing all these in a short version. If you want to skip ahead to the actual answers, feel free. Vertical here just means opposite sides of cross. Opposite sides of an X of any type of cross. Complementary means that they add up to 90 degrees. Remember, you'll always see a little box for those 90 degrees questions. Supplementary adds to 180 degrees, and a linear pair is adjacent, and make a line. Make a line. So it has to already be adjacent to start with, and then it has to make a line. So you might even argue that linear pair can't show up here because you could just answer adjacent on those ones because it's name any correct. I don't care. We're actually going to do these questions. Here we go. So first of all, I'm going to start with the two that don't have a transversal. So I'm just going to do numbers 2 and number 3 first. This one right here, these two are on opposite sides of an X. If they're on opposite sides of a cross, the word is vertical. Boom. Easy, freebie. We're done with that. By the way, it's a good idea, I think, to figure out which ones add up to, which ones are equal and which ones aren't, because it's going to apply later. I should have said something about that. So vertical angles are always equal. Complementary, we already wrote 190. For linear pair, or supplementary, we already wrote 180, but linear pair is also 180. Corresponding are equal to each other. Alternate interior equal. Alternate exterior equal. Same side interior and the same side exterior are both 180s. All right, now we're done talking with this. Whew. Okay, so number 1 there. So I said we're gonna do number 2, number 3, because those are the easy ones. After that, number 3, there are actually 3 correct answers for this one. I think the most obvious answer is that A and B together, like if I were to combine A and B, they create a straight line. So I think the obvious answer is linear pair. However, other correct answers besides linear pair would be supplementary, because they create a straight line, means they add to 180, so supplementary. And then the last possibility is, in order to even be a linear pair, they have to be adjacent. So actually, any of those 3 words will be correct. You only need to pick one of them. Let's go off to number 1 now. So any of these questions, you have to do a couple things. You have to figure out which is the transversal, and then for that transversal, where's the inside, where's the outside. So we're going to go ahead and circle a transversal. You don't actually have to do this for the question, but I think it's going to be helpful to you if you're struggling with this to start with. So when you have that transversal you've circled, again, this is called the transversal. And the reason why I circled that one is because it is the only line that touches both A and B. So like this line up here doesn't touch either of them. This line only touches A. This line only touches B. These ones over here touch A and B. And now, after that, you're going to have to decide which one of these it is. Anytime you have the word alternate, that means they're on different sides of the line. So if we're starting up right here, the one that I've circled, A is like on the top of the line, B is on the bottom of the line. So right away, our word is going to be alternate. After you've done the word alternate, the next part of this you have to include is going to be whether they're on the inside or the outside. So in general, when they're talking about the inside, this is going to be like the inside part, inside over here, or the interior, and over here this is the outside, outside, and so is this one. So anytime those two guys are going to be on the outside, the other one's going to be inside. Clearly, A and B are on the outside. Because they're on the outside, the correct word is going to be exterior. I'm going to run out of room there, but that's the word exterior. Sorry for the small spacing. I really should have made that a little better when I made this test 2 review. This is my fault. I apologize. Okay. Anyways, question number 4. Let's check this one out. So in this one, yet again, this one I don't think you need to circle the transversal. I think it's obvious enough which one's the transversal. It's the only one that goes to the only two. These two are both on the same side. So we're going to start with the word same side. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and say the are in between, so they are interior. By the way, because both same side interior and same side exterior add up to 180, we could also say supplementary as a correct answer for this problem. Supplementary. Whoof. All right. Last thing I want to mention, I didn't talk about the word corresponding here. In the event that your paper, your test has a corresponding question here, corresponding is going to be anytime they're in the quote unquote same corner. So if I just were to like make up new letters over here, if I were to make like letter C and letter D, if you notice how they're both kind of in the bottom left-hand corner there, like they're both like of this X right here, it's in the bottom left, of this X, it's in the bottom left, we would call those two corresponding. So these two here, if you want to know, these are corresponding. I think that's the only one I didn't really touch on when I was talking about these. Another way to look at corresponding is that they're on the same side, but one's interior, one's exterior. So corresponding, you can think about it as kind of like the same corner, the same corner. And if you don't want to think about it as the same corner, instead what you could think about it as is same side, but one in, one out. One in, one out. All right, I'm done talking about these questions. Let's move on to the harder questions, the ones that have actual math involved instead of just vocabulary. Let's do it. Okay, so here we go. We're on to question number 5 here. So finding the measure of angle B. This one, they're on opposite sides of the cross. They are vertical angles, and therefore they are equal to each other. That is the whole problem. You're done. They're equal. Super simple. These two have to be the same. On question number 6, we do have a little bit more effort we have to go through, but we see that little box. That little box means that they add to 90. So we know that B plus 27 is equal to 90. And if we had to show our work for some reason, we could just write B is equal to 90 minus that 27. Finally, 90 minus that 27 is going to be 63, and that is our correct answer to this question. I'm putting the degree symbol on all of them, but I'm not really grading that. It's not a big deal. We're going to get rid of degrees later in our math careers anyways. All right, continuing on to question number 7. These two are same side interior angles. Same side interior angles are supplementary, meaning that they add to 180. So we're going to go ahead and do a B plus 134 is equal to 180 degrees. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and subtract them up. So we're going to go ahead and do B is equal to 180 minus 134, and then B is equal to here, and we're going to go ahead and do 46 degrees. That's our final answer. And if you need a calculator for that, not a big deal. Go ahead and use one. For letter number 8, these guys are corresponding. Because they are corresponding angles, they're going to be equal to each other. So this one is just going to be 40 right away. Super nice. Easy peasy. Just a little note for scratch work or doodle. I'm just going to go ahead and put this down here if you need it for yourself. But one of the big ideas for all of these questions, the two angles can either be equal to each other, or the two angles are going to add up to 90, just like question 6, sorry. The two angles are going to add up to 180, or last but not least, or the x plus y, the two angles, or multiple angles, I guess, can add up to 360. So these are the only situations you'll be in for all of these questions. It might be good to know that. All right, we're moving up to the next part here. All right, question number 9. On this one here, we have to again realize that they are same side interior angles. Same side interior angles add up to 180. So we're going to start off by making this 124 plus 2x minus 6 is equal to 180. After that, we're going to go ahead and copy that 2x down. We're, again, dividing this down the middle. We're going to make this side the x side. We're making that other side the constant side. Hopefully you can read that. Yep, my head's not in it. We're fine. All right, so that's the constant side, the not x's side. So we have the x side here. We have the constant side here, maybe a little thing like that. You're going to copy the stuff that's in the right spot. So it's actually really helpful for somebody if I actually wrote the steps to all these questions. So any question that's like this, I'm just going to write the steps in between. The first step over here is going to be step 1 is we copy x's on left and the not x's on right. And that's what we did already. On question number 2, we're going to say, or part number 2, we're going to say when we switch sides, you switch signs. Move everything else. Move everything else. Switch sides, switch sign. Switch sides, switch sign. Oof. All right, we wrote the first two steps. So we have the 2x, we have the 180. We've copied the x's on the left, the not x's on the right. And now we're going to take that 124 and that -6, and we're going to move them to the other side. But when we pick them up and move them to the other side, it's going to become a minus 124 because there's like an invisible little plus sign in front. That's a positive 124. And then a plus 6 because that negative is going to turn into a positive. So we move those over. So again, this one moved over to here, and this one moved over to there. Boom, there we go. After that, we have to actually do the math on it. So we're gonna have 2x is equal to, we're gonna have to do quote unquote, this step here is gonna be add like terms. And that's what we're doing here. So in this case, the 2x has nothing to be added here. And on this one, what we're just gonna be doing in the calculator, 180 minus 124 plus 6, you get 62. As a final step to this question, sometimes at that very, very last step, you have to divide by the number in front of x in order to solve. So divide for that last step, divide. And then you're going to be done. And if you've done this, it will work for all equations that have no exponents. And that's what this question is. It has no exponents. We're going to go ahead and do that little division. So that division part here, I'm going to write that out. We're going to divide by 2, and x is going to be equal to, using my calculator if we need it, 62 divided by 2. We're typing in exactly as it appears using that division bar for it. We're going to get 31. And there we go. Our x value is, in fact, 31. In case you need to see it more, there it is. I'm done. I'm moving on. No more huge amount of work. I'm going to show less work on this one. But just like before, we had to figure out if it equals 180, if it equals 90, or if they're equal to each other. These two are going to be alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are always going to be equal to each other. So we're going to have 4x plus 30 equals 146. This one I'm going to show a lot less work. So I showed maximum work on number 9 where I moved this around, did this around, did all that kind of thing. But you don't need to show the work like that. It doesn't even have any work in here for your points. So instead, we're going to show nothing. We're going to take that 30 and we're going to move it over. But when we do that, we're subtracting. So 146 minus 30 is 116. Nice. We didn't need to see any of the work on that one. For the very next step, we divide both sides by 4. When we divide both sides by 4, use a calculator if you need to. But what you could do, just to let you know, you don't have to do these with a calculator. 116, you can think about how it's 100 and 16. 100 when you divide by 4 is 25. 16 when you divide by 4 is 4. And 25 plus 4 is 29. There we go. We got our x is equal to 29 down there in the corner. Easy peasy. Make sure you're writing your answer where it's supposed to be on these things so you don't get in trouble with your teacher. We're moving on to the next page. Here we go. Question number 11. So on question number 11, we got to set up a point for a correct equation here. We see that little box, and you see that little box, you should immediately be thinking 90 degrees. They do, in fact, add to 90 degrees, and that is what we got there. We got those two adding up to 90. We're going to go ahead and show the work on this one. We got the 5x on this side. We got the 90 on that side, but we're subtracting 54. We are adding 9 because we're taking that 54, moving it over, taking that negative 9, moving it over. You're going to go ahead and do the work. 90 minus 54 is going to be 36, and then you add the 9. If you do that, you end up getting 45 there. So 5x is equal to 45. Then we're going to go ahead, divide both sides by 5, divide both sides by 5, and you end up getting 9. And that's going to be your final answer on this one. Number 13. Oh no, write a complete English sentence will be okay. We have to figure out what the transformation is. Any of these questions that you're trying to figure out the transformation, if you want to try to see, if you think it's a sliding around, like this one is, where you're clearly just moving it, what you're going to want to do is you want to pick the same letter. So I'm going to pick this x and this x prime. Remember, you're moving from x to x prime, and we're going to go ahead and count. So we're going to count how far it is. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. So it's down 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It moves to the 5 left. Please be careful. You can't do it the other way. You can't say that it's up 3 and to the right 5. You are starting at a letter of some kind, maybe a V, and then you're moving it to the one with the prime on it. Anyways, let's write our complete sentence here. So our complete sentence is, this figure has been translated 3 units down and 5 units left. There's my beautiful full sentence. And you could have a couple different words. Instead of saying figure, you might have said shape. Instead of saying shape, you could have been fancy and used the word that we haven't even learned yet, quadrilateral. You could have also said things like, maybe you spelled out the word 3. There are a couple different ways to do it, but I think this is going to be our easiest way. Circle it. We have to have that complete sentence for the points. Look at this complete sentence right there. Oh my gosh, gotta have it right. All right, we're going on number 14 now. All right, question number 14 on this one. This one, if you notice, it's kind of pointing in a different direction. So because it's pointing in a different direction, it has to be either a reflection or a rotation. And you kind of just have to do your best to figure it out at this point in time. We're not going to be specific rules for it. But on this one, if you really wanted to, you could like actually fold the piece of paper down. And if you folded this piece of paper on top, you kind of see that this guy would be on top of this one. That's when you know it's a reflection. So for this particular problem, we would say this triangle has been reflected over the, and where is it? X-axis. And there it is. And by the way, it's been reflected this over the x-axis. You're also allowed to call that one a vertical reflection because you flipped it up and upside down. You're allowed to do that. All right, the last problem here. Here we have another triangle. This one's going to be a little different. We're going to be doing rotating. Please note that rotating is always to the left. So you're always going this way with it. You're always going that way. So you have to go this way with it. I actually messed up in one of my classes. I just don't know what was going on with me, but I decided that this way was clockwise and I said it was the other way. My brain was just messed up. I'm going to blame that it was 7 a.m. in the morning. We're always doing this direction for rotation. So if you notice, if I took this shape and I kind of rotated it, it would be on top of that. So whoop, up to there. I'm not going to worry about it too much, but we're rotating from here to here. In general, if you want to try to figure out the answers, the only possible answers for this class are going to be 90, 180, or 270. These are the only possibilities for a rotation. And you really want to see how many quadrants did it move. So from here to here, it moved 1 quadrant. If it moved down here, that'd be 180 because it moved 2 quadrants. And it moved over here, it would have actually been 3 quadrants for a 270. By the way, if you do 360 rotation, you get back to square one. So here's our correct answer. Whenever you're saying rotation, it has to be about a point. So this is going to be about the origin. This triangle has been rotated. And where has it been rotated? It's been rotated 90 degrees about the origin. And there you go. That's all you got to say. We're done, I think. Pretty sure that was the last problem. So, yeah, have a great rest of your day, guys, and peace out.